In this video, we're going to tackle one of the common issues related to Mercedes Airmatic malfunctions. You have the light on your dash and your sport feature is turned on and you can't turn it off. It's basically a limp home mode, and it's going to lock in that sport mode. It's going to have a rough ride, and it'll basically be like that until you can get the issue resolved. Now, this repair is for a GL series Mercedes, but the process is similar for other Airmatic systems. In terms of troubleshooting, I'm confident that my airbags are okay because my ride height, my level has not changed. If you come out to your vehicle after parking it for a few days and it looks like this, you're actively losing air from your bladders, possibly your air lines or some other component from the Airmatic system. On my car, I'm pretty sure that's not the issue, and I had a chance to confirm that recently. While at the dealer for an unrelated issue, I had them diagnose the problem as being a right rear shock solenoid. $1,100 is what they quoted me, and they suggest, of course, to do it in pairs, so that's $2,200 to get that malfunction light to turn off. But if you're watching this video, I trust that you're not willing to waste all that money. $208 is what I paid for on Amazon for a pair of rear shocks for the GL550. They come in a few days, and they're very well packaged. So let's get started. First thing we do is go under the hood and remove the 40 amp fuse for the compressor. We want to make sure it doesn't kick on and try to level the height as you're raising the car. Next, we're going to lift the car. It's a good idea to use these jack pads to position your jack or your lift properly when raising the vehicle. With the wheel off, we have our parts exposed, and you can see here the top and bottom caps of this solenoid look rusted and bulged, and that's our problem. One of the things that's unique about this vehicle is that the shock and the spring or this airbag are separate. On the left, you have the shock. On the right here, you see the spring. This is different from most vehicles which incorporate a strut or a coilover design, which could make it difficult or even dangerous to repair. This one's quite easy, so let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is take off these two 10mm plastic nuts that help to hold this fender liner in the wheel well. Once you have those off, you can pull back on this liner to expose the top of the shock. You'll see the two mount bolts and where they protrude through the body, the top of which looks like this. Before we go any further, you'll need to take a second jack and place it underneath this control arm to support it so that it doesn't fall down when we loosen these two top bolts. Now, full disclosure, I'm going to be doing a little bit of a life hack here for this job. Because to do this properly, we should be coming to this interior here, removing the back trim, removing everything we need to take off both left and rear interior panels just to access those bolts. What I'm going to do here is pry open the armrests. And when you take these off, there are little pieces of plastic, little tabs that will break. But as you can see here, there are tabs that allow you to snap this back into place sufficiently. For me, it's worth the time savings to do it this way. With the armrests out of the way, move the batting and start to locate those bolts. You'll have to cut open some of this foam to find them. Use caution whenever there's a harness or something else in there. As you can see, you do have limited access, but with a little finesse and an extension bit, you can get to these quite easily. And again, a lot easier than taking off all those rear panels. Next, we need to disconnect the harness from the shock solenoid. Use caution. There is a very small tab towards the rear end of the car side of this harness. You push down on that tab, release it, and pull the harness off. Set it to the side and out of the way. Then remove the solenoid side of this harness from its mounted location. With the lower control arm supported, use a 24mm wrench to hold the bolt in place and a 24mm socket to pull it off. I'm using an impact gun to make the job easier, but a ratchet and maybe a breaker bar would suffice. You pull that bolt out, lower this control arm, and you should be able to get this shock out very easily. You will install the new shock in the reverse manner. The job really is quite simple. Putting this back together, just make sure you use caution in guiding the top of this shock through these bolt holes to make sure you don't do any damage. What I like to do is put that through, have someone else just start threading those bolts up top, leave them very loose, just to make sure, just keep it in place. Once you've got that done, Use your jack to raise that control arm up until the holes in the bottom of the shock line up with the holes in the bushing that's in that lower control arm. Once they line up, put the bolt through, thread the nut on, and torque it back into place. With that bolt back in place, reconnect the harness, go back to the vehicle's interior, tighten down those two top bolts, and the job is done. It's crazy to think I was quoted just over $2,000 for something that cost me $210 to do. So I hope this video saves someone out there some money. Thanks for watching, and of course, like, subscribe, and all that other YouTube stuff.